Morning. I think we're working. Good morning. Yes, here we are, I think. So, good morning, everybody. Welcome to day three, I guess, of this live streaming. Um, and another day in our very strange, peculiar reality that's taken hold as this health crisis envelops the world and becomes more severe each day at the moment. I wanted to talk this morning as an introduction to the practice. Again, I'm just going to practice present moment awareness, simply resting in the openness that is here amongst and amid all of the turmoil, inner and outer. But I wanted to talk first of all about um, light in the darkness, or you might have heard some people talk about the dark night of the soul. I don't know a great deal about the historical backgrounds of that or any of the scholarly interpretations. But basically, in terms of our own life, a dark night of the soul can come as a personal challenge or an interruption to our ordinary way of life. Excuse me. Um, and usually as an intense form of suffering where we seem to have lost everything that we hold dear, or we are forced into a challenge that there seems to be no way out. So it's as if our entire world goes dark, either all of a sudden or bit by bit very quickly, and we can remain in a phase of life that could be called a dark night of the soul, and there can be many dark nights in one life. We can remain in that phase for a very long time. And my own, in fact, I came to this sort of perspective on life. I came to these types of practices and began my own spiritual search as a result of my own dark night of the soul, which seemed to go on for years and years. But that came about through personal suffering, ill health, sickness, and a loss of all those things that we feel make our life. So health, well-being, sanity, even a grip on reality, work, money, home, all the sort of structures that make our world or make our personal life seem to have meaning and purpose and direction. And it seems to me that at the moment, with the current crisis with COVID-19, coronavirus, the responses of governments around the world, um, and just the sudden and dramatic change to our daily lives, and the immense amount of suffering and death that's occurring all around us. Um, Perhaps we are in the grip of a collective dark night of the soul. Excuse me. So I wanted to just talk a little bit about the fact that these practices, becoming still and becoming present and noticing what is here that is not disturbed or wrecked or darkened by these tragedies, noticing that during the darkness can be an incredibly powerful practice, but it can also be a very practical way for us to see our way through the dark times. To see our way in the dark is to turn to something, turn to a light that never goes out. And there is a light within us that never goes out. And it is the light of awareness, the light of our own awareness. But some would say it's the light of God, it's the light of Christ consciousness, or it's the light of Buddha nature, it's the light of the way of the Tao, any sort of religious or faith metaphor may well work for you, or just simply the light of your own being, the light of the universe, the light of pure potentiality, whatever we call it. In a way, choose perhaps the word or the description that presents the least obstacles to you, perhaps. But either way, you needn't really call it anything, because we can experience what that is without giving it a name. And that's one of the reasons I like to focus on silence, because it's something we can all notice in the same way as stillness. It's something we can all recognize. It's irrefutable. And space also. It's the same with our own capacity for awareness. If we quiet the mind enough, we can notice that we have the ability to be aware. And it seems an obvious thing. But then as we're experiencing in these practices, there are deeper aspects to that capacity for awareness. And one of them, I would say, is this element of, this characteristic of light, that our own awareness is like a flame or a torch, or it is like a light within us that remains on all the time. And the comforting thing that I have found, that in times of intense suffering or collapse even, when everything we hold dear appears to be, or is in reality, collapsing all around us, a death phase really, there's an opportunity for us to turn our attention towards and recognize and notice that which doesn't die, and that which is illuminated even in the darkest of darks. So perhaps that might be useful, I hope, for us to hold that idea in our consciousness, if you like, or just be aware of this as we practice today with present moment awareness. So, as usual, if you just get comfortable in your chair or on the sofa or wherever you are, and just take a few moments now to check in with your body. Comfortable. Hey, move your shoulders a bit. Let's shake something out. I did the one of the online PE sessions with that chap Joe. I can't remember his surname. The other morning, they're really good. So moving our body in this time is really important, I think, even if we have to do that indoors. Anyway, so get comfortable in your chair, in your seat, wherever you are, and just take a moment with your awareness to scan your body, perhaps. Just with your awareness. Actually, this might be quite a good exercise to do, thinking about awareness as a light, the light of awareness. You just perhaps begin placing your attention, your aware attention, in your feet and your toes. You perhaps wiggle your toes a little bit and then let them settle. And just allow the body to become still, just surrendering into the rest of this moment, surrendering into this silence and this peace. And just turn your attention, your conscious awareness, to the sensations in your feet. Just the feeling in your feet. And place your awareness there, like shining a torch, or a light. Shining the light of awareness just into our feet, each of the toes, the sole of the feet, the heel, all the bones and tendons, and the ankle. And just shining our awareness into every cell in that area of our body and the feet. And then extend the light of awareness so that that light of awareness remains illuminated in your feet. And we'll extend that now, rising up into the calf, calf muscles, into your shins, up the lower leg. We spread the light of our own awareness, our own aware conscious attention. And that awareness and light is spreading up into the knees, around the back of the knees. Becoming aware of our thighs, the light of awareness spreading up into the muscles and the sinews and the tendons and the bones of the legs, up into our buttocks and around our pelvic area, the bottom of our spine. The light of awareness and our own conscious awareness moving then up into our hips, to our solar plexus, seat of power. And the light of awareness then spreads. We are spreading our own light of awareness, shining it, continuing up into the chest, into the abdomen. And that light of awareness is illuminating every cell in the entire part of this body, and then up into our chest area, into our heart and lungs, to all the organs, all the cells of the body, and then further up into our shoulders, and then the light spreads down into our arms, elbows, wrists, hands, fingers, thumbs, knuckles, nails. And then the light of our own awareness, so we're scanning our body with our own awareness, and rises up into the neck, the shoulders, into the throat, and into the jaw and the face, the tongue, the lips, the teeth, the cheeks, the nose, ears, eyes, forehead. And then that light of our own awareness right up into the top of our head, into our brain, into our scalp, into our hair, out to the tips of our hair. And then that light of awareness, our own awareness, can continue to spread outwards. So now the light of our own awareness completely illuminated our entire body, and then we can spread that out to the room where we are, awareness aware of our entire body and the room in which we are sitting and where we are practicing this, out into the entire building, the street, and on we can go, the light of awareness spreading all around the world, connecting us all. So it's in a way the same dimension we are present in together, aware of this moment right here, noticing the light of awareness can shine, and when we look for it, no matter how dark it is, there it is, still shining. And just allow that light to just continue to spread out from you, from your own body, out into the world. And now, as we allow that light to spread, to continue doing its work, just notice the silence where you are, which includes noticing the sounds arising in the silence, because there may well be some. And just notice how the silence itself doesn't oppose the sounds. And the sounds are arising in the silence and returning to the silence. And yet the silence remains, that constant. And just open yourself to that silence and to that light of awareness. If you're feeling any restriction in your body, any emotional restriction, any sensations of tightening or tension, give them to the silence. Give those sensations to the light. So within you, within us all, there is the capacity to be aware of what we're feeling, to be aware of sensations in our body. And that is the light of awareness. It's not nearly as complicated or, it's not that obscure. It's the same as being aware that there are birds tweeting, or aware of the sound of my voice, aware of the sensation of your clothes against your skin, aware of the feeling of your body in the chair. So the silence really is a metaphor for our own capacity for awareness, and the stillness is a metaphor for that too, and the space and the light. So if there are any uncomfortable emotions or sensations or thoughts, look at them with your awareness. So it's like we're shining the light of awareness upon those sensations, upon those thoughts, the witnessing consciousness. And so even when it's very dark in our world, and there is great pain and suffering and horror and confusion and anger and frustration and panic and uncertainty, all those feelings overlapping one over another. Even in those times, this light of awareness is on. We may not notice it. It may be obscured by the drama up front or the darkness all around. But if we can become still, if we can listen to the silence, notice the stillness, even just noticing the stillness of objects in the room, then the stillness within us can become more apparent. We can feel it more. So continue to fall into that space of awareness, if you like, falling into the silence, surrendering into the stillness, letting go into the light of your own awareness, allowing that light of awareness to increase, enveloping you, embracing your whole body, out into your home, your household, and out into the world. And as you practice with these approaches, notice any changes in your relationship to these times, to thoughts, to feelings, to sensations, emotions. There may not immediately be a change, but in general, when we are connected with this dimension within us, with our own clear, pure light of awareness, it will often bring clarity and comfort and reassurance and a sense of stability in unstable times. In many places around the country at the moment, and perhaps in other parts of the world as well, I expect, there's a great deal of silence, a great deal of stillness. And so now is a good opportunity for us to open to it, allow it to inform us. It's an incredibly intelligent dimension. So return now to our practice of shining the light of awareness all through our body, all through the world, through every dark thought, through every dark, uncomfortable, constricted feeling, shining the light of your own awareness, allowing it to spread and grow, illuminating all around. May the light of your own awareness bring you comfort and peace and clarity and health. And may this light of awareness connect us all, heart to heart, and transform this darkness or this tragedy. Transform it into something very positive for us and for the world. If you watch carefully what can happen in these practice sessions, if you begin the session with a sense of agitation or tiredness or exhaustion, or any emotional feeling, any sensation, we can begin with that, and we begin then to sit in silence, watch the breath, any meditation technique really, simple mindfulness practice, tranquility meditation, simple breath, watching the breath, counting meditation, or just simply being aware of silence, space, stillness, then you might notice that afterwards there's a change, or even during. Quite often in my life I have felt constriction or tightness in the solar plexus, feeling of kind of a clenching feeling just here. Some people feel tightness in the chest or in the throat. Some people feel throbbing or tightness in the head. Some people feel drained around the eyes. And while, of course, all of those experiences or feelings can have physical causes, it's interesting how a feeling of an emotional feeling in the body can be transformed by a practice like this. It may only be temporary, but the point I'm trying to make is it's an example of the transformative power of consciousness, the transformative power of presence, of awareness, of stillness, of the light of creation, if you like. It's transformative, this emptiness. Like I was saying yesterday, this emptiness is not a cold, barren void. It's a vibrant field of love and potential. And so we can allow this light, our own light. It's not some disembodied, abstract light that's out there coming into us. We're in it. We are expressions of it. It's our light. universal light that connects us all. Actually, I was looking earlier at perhaps reading a passage from a book, and it seems that it might go quite well to read a selection, an extract from this book. It's a book that my friend Philip Pegler has written. Can you see that? It's called Quiet Courage of the Inner Light, Finding Faith and Fortitude in an Age of Anxiety. This book is actually published this month, early April. I don't know the exact date. I think maybe the 5th of April, 4th or 5th of April. And this was written, probably completed about a year ago. So before this current crisis. And Philip's got a chapter called Caring from Afar. And I think I'd quite like to read this, actually. I think it would be quite relevant to what we've just done in the practice. Here is an extraordinary fact for you to consider. Something amazing and true at the deepest level of existence. Whenever you touch the conscious inward ground of your own awareness, you are also simultaneously in communion with everyone else in the world. And this is simply because the life force within us is not merely of a personal nature, but it also constitutes a dynamic energy, universal in its all-pervasiveness. The very essence of life is what sustains this collective consciousness, which we all share, even if we are oblivious to its presence. But realization is power. As soon as we begin to sense the profound truth of our own conscious connection with everyone and everything, we begin to experience the beautiful and transformative possibilities flowing from our renewed understanding. We often feel incapable of helping others, simply because we feel apart from them. Yet an acknowledgement of the reality of this shared consciousness is enough to open the door to compassion. And this opening to a sense of caring immediately restores a natural empathy. The underlying truth, supported by cutting-edge science, is that although physical distinctions exist, of course, we are not actually separate from one another in an absolute sense. It is this fundamental fact, transposed throughout all levels of perception and experience, that immediately enables us to identify with other people's joys and support them in their sadness. By the same token, we are implicated in their errors as well as in their achievements. In like manner, we too are obliged to play our invisible part from afar in doing what we can to bear the immense burden of suffering at the sharp end of conflict or crisis, even when we ourselves are not directly involved. When this key insight comes to us, we should take full responsibility for its profound implications. That we are in truth formed by the world, and the world is an expression of us. To reflect deeply about these things is spiritual work of the highest order. It will tend to be undertaken behind the scenes, on the causative level, but it is suitable in influence and effect. But it is subtle in influence and effect, and we do need to realize that it cannot be assessed in conventional ways. Similarly, the potency of love and prayer cannot be measured in a scientific manner, but even so, a clear awareness of the blessings that prayers yield during times of crisis carries its own convictions. Real depth of understanding gives rise to a stalwart faith that cannot be easily subdued by suffering or entirely crushed by conflict and cruelty. Brute force certainly seems to hold sway on the surface of things to begin with, but in the long term, mercy and non-violence will always win out. It is the profound law of love that makes it so. And I find actually that passage is quite relevant to what we've been exploring in this practice today. This dimension of awareness, the light of awareness, is something that connects us all, and that at this time there will be some of us, many of us I suspect, who feel helpless in this current crisis. And although there are very many practical things we can potentially do, and many of us are doing in our communities, often we feel powerless in times like this. And so opening our conscious awareness to ourselves and to the world around us is a profoundly helpful thing to do. Not only does it sometimes clear up the dysfunction in our own lives, but it can help to clear up and shine a light and to heal and to transform the dysfunction and the pain and suffering in our own world. Right? That's it for today. Thank you very much for joining, if you joined. And thank you very much for watching this after, if you're watching after. Have a good day, everybody, and wishing you all well. And speak to you soon.